I think, as you may well imagine, a good week, a positive week, a very upbeat group. It's amazing, as I think I said at the weekend, and you heard a million times before, what a win can do for everyone. It certainly makes the whole environment and your everyday work that much more bright and purposeful, if you like. Some really good work. We had a slightly different week this week in terms of build up into this Vancouver game, which I think has done everyone the world of good, and plenty of time to get on the field on our turf here and try and be ready for this important game.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start on the floor with Drake Hills, and then we'll go to the Zoom with Tim Sullivan. Go ahead, Drake.
Yeah, Gary, so much of the psychology of last weekend, getting the guys back rejuvenated, and at the end of that talk, we talked about CJ and Randall and those guys getting back into that belief system of they can convert as well. Has that, or how does that go about in, let's say, a week of training? How does that influence them, inspire them in a way?
I think the biggest differences that you see in people are their demeanour and their personalities when they're working and when they're coming into work. There's no doubt when things are not going the way you want them to, you tend to feel that much more disappointed and flat. It's as simple as that, really. Everything becomes a little bit more of a chore, whereas you get a good win under your belt in a very, very tight conference. I think we all know that if you can put 2 or 3 wins together, you're in a very, very strong position, and that's obviously the challenge. But as far as those guys go, for CJ and Randall, it really is about hitting the back of the net now to tick that final box. Their performances have been terrific, very influential, but I think they're in a good place, and I think they're feeling as though that moment's not too far away.
Follow up?
Yeah, just a follow up. Do you feel like an extra need given how Vancouver came and they were very stubborn in how they lined up in the shape that it was hard to break down, especially going direct at them? Do you feel that there's a need to go up there, given the only short amount of games left and the fact that Vancouver is right behind you guys in the standings? Do you feel there's an extra need to go up there and get a result?
Oh, absolutely. We're in the final stretch, and I think the understanding for every group, Vancouver no different, is that you want to take advantage of every game that's in front of you now. I'm not sure they play any differently at home than the way they do away from home. They've got a particular style. They're very well organised. I think everyone knows their roles inside out. There's flaws to every style and every group, but it's a matter of exposing those and trying to make the most of whatever moments come along. And for sure, no away game is easy, but I think we've shown throughout this year, and in fact, since we've been in existence, that it doesn't matter where we play. There's a real belief and a determination that we will get something out of the game. And I think the guys are in that mindset, especially after a good week last week.
Thank you, Coach. We'll go to the Zoom with Tim Sullivan. Go ahead, Tim.
Gary, when you look at just like the physical distance of travel for this trip, is there anything that you do differently in terms of preparing? Do you get there earlier? Do you give certain guys a day off of training, like today or yesterday or anything like that? I guess everybody had yesterday off, but you get what I'm saying.
A couple of different things. This, as I said, the week this week has been slightly different. I felt as though, maybe a recovery day straight after the game, instead of coming in and maybe having the recovery day yesterday. We've worked through. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and today we've trained, but we travel this afternoon, and that's one of the other differences. We try and give ourselves a little bit more time in market to adjust to the time zones, for the guys to find their feet, to get the flight out of our legs. We'll train tomorrow morning and hopefully be in the best physical and mental shape we can be in to go and attack the game. Aside that, Post game, there'll be some recovery work going on. We actually stay over, and we'll try and get ourselves a good night's sleep because of the time that we lose coming back. So there's a couple of things that we can do along with the modalities that are being used to try and get the legs and the body back into some sense of normality after the game, to be ready for a very big week. Starts Saturday, but it is a very big week for us.
Thank you, Coach. Next, we'll go to Claudio Villalobos on the Zoom. Go ahead, Claudio.
Thank you, Matt. Gary, out of 34 points, roughly, Vancouver had gained 14 points in the last 5 minutes of the games. I mean, how does a team prepare for that? Is there any way to prepare? And what are they doing well that has surprised so many teams this far?
Yeah, listen, I think you have to put it down to, a lot of determination on their part. I would imagine they've looked at some of the data in the way that their guys are working or what they're trying to achieve late on in the game. I wonder how many of those games they've been on level terms or even behind at that point. I know that they've gone behind in games at home, and they've done ever so well to recover and put themselves in a point scoring position. The other side of it is maybe they're just taking full advantage of their home support and their home ground, and that environment that they have there has been very good to them. There's no doubt playing on turf is very different to anything else that you may well run into in the league, and they certainly have a good style that suits that. But I truly don't have an answer to it. They obviously keep themselves going to a very good degree. We're fully aware of that, and whilst I might say we'll have a plan for it, the reality is when you get into that last 5-10 minutes, a lot of things can happen in a game. What we'll try and do is put ourselves in a good position and and make the very most of being in Vancouver and earning points.
Next, we'll go to Ben Wright and then Drake Hills. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, Gary, we saw Shaq come off last time out. Do you have an update on him? Do you expect him to be available? And then I know you said Teal's probably going to be kind of maybe a little bit of a longer-term absence, but is Ake anywhere close to being available?
Shaq's in a good place. I think we called it just in time. There was actually a discussion at half-time. He said he was getting tight. And I think I was maybe more alarmed at his reaction to playing that first channel ball in the second half than anyone was, and getting him off double quickly given the position we were in. So I'm really pleased about that. He's in a good place. Teal's very, very close. Unfortunately, this one will probably be a little bit too soon for him, but he's progressing very nicely along with Ake, and I think those two guys will be looking into next week, possibly Wednesday. I would think Saturday for certain would be a return date, but we're trying to push them along, both of them, for the Wednesday against Colorado.
Go ahead, Drake.
Yeah, along those lines, Gary, just with the 3 games, we haven't seen much of Jack necessarily in a starting role, and of course Ryan and Luke, those guys. Is there pressure to potentially balance rotation, getting those guys starting minutes versus obviously making sure you're getting results with your best fit squad?
I think there always is. I know I've been asked this question before about guys coming into the group and the squad that we have. We have players that are more than capable of coming in and not only fulfilling a job or doing a particular job, but giving a good enough account of themselves to earn points. We've seen it before, and I think at this stage in the season there could well be an expectation in this 3 games that we may well see a good portion of the guys that you've mentioned. Whether that's from the start or whether that's giving 1 or 2 of those guys who are in the starting lineup a little bit of a breather in the games, but certainly the management of some of the guys' minutes are going to be very, very important given the type of season we've had.
We'll go Wes Bowling, then Tim Sullivan, Claudio Villalobos. Go ahead, Wes.
When you have a guy like Jacob come in and make that immediate impact, what has that done for the mood of the group? Not even just in and after the match, but in training this week as well.
Well, I think as far as debuts go, it's got to be up there with them. I know it was only 45 minutes, but it was a great 45 minutes. Wonderful impact goal, and I think we can say instrumental part in earning the free kick for Hanny, although there was a lot to do. That's one piece of the puzzle, it's a big piece of the puzzle, having a player come in and give us a different dimension, give us a different look. I think that in itself was a real boost for a lot of the guys to see a new set of legs, a new face, and a new creative individual. But I think the type of guy he is as well. There's no real way of knowing what the person's going to be like when they come in, how they're going to interact with the team. But some of the investigating we did before, I think has been borne out. He's a wonderful lad. He's very hard working, and he's fitted in, slotted into the group fantastically well. And my only hope is that he can be as impactful throughout the remaining 7 games as he was in his debut.
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, Gary, you've talked a lot in the past few weeks about how important home matches are as you enter this home stretch, in part because there are so many of them. But how do you, recontextualize it when it is time to go on the road? Obviously, every point is important, but how do you kind of, hammer home that road matches are where you guys have done a lot of your succeeding so far this year?
I think when you get to this point in the season, Tim, as we all well know, the away games, especially against teams that are in and around the playoff line, as Vancouver are, and then obviously we go to Austin and LA, who are the top 2 teams. Every point's valuable. Every point, as you've just said, is important. Somehow, some way, you've got to try and find a competitive mindset, put the home games out of your mind, and just try and compartmentalise each and every game. I think this one will be a little bit easier given where it is when we're travelling. There's not too many distractions. You're on the road. You're on the plane for a long time. You know what what you're trying to achieve and where you're trying to go with a group. But we certainly will. I think in the end, our season will be determined out of the 4 home games. If we can put ourselves in a position where, at very worst, Vancouver don't and are not able to, leapfrog us and put themselves in a stronger position. I think that's the least we need to get out of this game. Of course, if we can win it, even better.
On both sides of the ball. Have you, and we're seeing him aiming more at the goal, trying to get on the score sheet. Have you felt any type of frustration from him? Have you talked to him about the fact that he has not been and he would love to score once again?
Yeah, I think Reynolds, like any player, any forward, any creator, he wants to make a difference. He personally wants to put himself in a position where he's having an impact on the game. I think he dismisses the amount of work that he does for the team, the way that he conducts himself from a purely physical and data standpoint. He is a tremendously hard-working player, and I think he personally doesn't take enough on board and enough credit for that. But of course he wants to score goals. Yes, there's been a little bit of anxiety. I think there have been 1 or 2 situations where he may have taken an opportunity when he might have been able to slide someone else in or create a different creative position. But look, when you're seeing what we're achieving, the positions we're getting in, I would never want to stop anyone trying to take that moment to make a difference. I think they're very, very fine lines between this should be passed and I should be taking the initiative here. And I think to that degree, we can say that there's no chance of Randall ever dodging the question that's being asked, and that is, can we score a goal? He wants to score a goal. He's got the character and the mental strength to be taking those moments, and I've no doubt it won't be too long before we see him back on the sheet again.
Thank you, Coach. We'll wrap up your session today with Ben Wright. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, Gary, I mean, we've seen a bunch of times in the past just how teams can kind of struggle a little bit through the summer, but then if they get hot towards the playoffs, they can go on a run in the postseason. I know the points are the most important thing heading to Vancouver, but how important is it to not just get a result, but to kind of follow up on the form that you guys had at home against Dallas and to kind of keep that up through this stretch?
I'd love to, as much as possible, Ben. You're right. Momentum is a really good tool for any team coming into this final stretch. It's compounded and made more difficult, of course, because of the conference we're in and some of the journeys that we've had to make. But absolutely, I mean, I think if we can somehow get close to the type of form that we've shown in our last 3 home games in terms of creativity and opportunities, I'm not banking on that. This is not an easy game. They're a very different team to the 3 we've just run into. But I think we have a nice platform here, and there's a really good confidence in the group. There's a belief that maybe we've turned the corner. We have 4 games still to play at home, albeit against some good sides, but it's been no different over the last 3 games. We've played some terrific teams, and we've been very creative at home. So this one represents something slightly different, but to your point, to maintain this momentum would certainly be hugely helpful.
Thank you, Coach.